Hammasi yaxshimi? Boshlaymizmi? Assalomu alaykum barchaga. Texnik taraflarni tekshirib olib, demak, top universitetlar loyihasining keyingi bosqichini boshlaymiz. Demak, qadrli tomoshabinlar, menimcha texnik tarafimiz hammasi o'z joyida. Ibrat farzandlari platformasida, demak, bu galgi o'sha top universitetlar loyihamizning bu galgi mehmoni Yale Universitetidan to'liq grant yutib, $260 ming grant yutib, hozirgi paytda o'sha bakalavr bosqichida o'qiyotgan Umid Usmonov. Umid, xush kelibsiz. Bugun demak, o'sha talab va taklifga qarab deymiz-ku, suhbatimiz ingliz tilida bo'lib o'tadi. Menimcha hammaga ham foydali bo'ladi degan umiddamiz. Ruscha ham qo'shilishi mumkin, o'zbekcha ham qo'shilishi mumkin. Asosiy til sifatida bu gal ingliz tilini tanladik. Umid, xush kelibsiz. You can introduce yourself like shortly. Thank you for your time. Here you go.
Assalomu alaykum, Sirojin aka, rahmat. Thank you very much for having me today. It's a true honor because, well, I've heard about Ibrat before, and I cannot remember when Ibrat was founded. But I know that I have a lot of students who did Ibrat camp before and who had absolutely amazing experiences. And they would always come back and they would tell me like the stories from the camp and how like happy they were. So like it's a genuinely good thing what you're doing, and I'm very happy that we have something like Ibrat in our country. But yes, again, it's a true honor to be here. As you know, my name is Umid. I'm now 20 years old. I had my birthday last week, so I'm 20 years old now. Not a teen anymore. Quite an old man, just like probably many of you. But I study at Yale. I'm a sophomore here. I study economics and international relations. I come from Samarkand. I was born there. I grew up in Samarkand. I went to school number 17. If anyone here is from Samarkand also. So I came directly after finishing school, taking a gap year, and here I am now. Yes.
That's great, Umid. I'm really happy like you've got a time like 1.5 hours for our interview, because most of our followers are youth, as you said. They participate in a Ibrat camp or they want to be part of it, and all in all, they're like learning English language and different languages, and they want to study abroad. And as far as we know, Yale is like here. It's like a top university, and you are like one of the talented and selected candidates like to be a Yale student. So during this video, we're gonna discover how it is to be like a Yale student, and how did you get there. I think this is interesting story that we should know, every student should know about. So shortly, the first question: how did you decide to be a Yale student? So what motivated you?
Okay, that's a great question. That's a very deep question. That's a very broad question. So it's a very long story. So let me start a little bit further. Like earlier, like let's go back to 2009. I think that's when I started learning English. And just an remark, right? My family, no one in my family speaks English. And so I'm the youngest child in my family. I have 2 older brothers. And somehow my mom, she had a great idea. She decided that she thought that there is this kid, he's 6 years old, and he might need English in the future. What if he needs English in the future? What if he gets into places like Yale, right? But of course, like at that time, I don't think she knew about Yale. Just as many people didn't know about Yale, like maybe 5 years ago, people knew, a lot of people knew about Harvard or Oxford, but those were like, Harvard, Oxford, Harvard, Oxford, but that's it, right? But right now, like these days, a lot of people know about many universities, which is good. And so she decided, she thought, what if he needs English? And we had a neighbor who went to what we call INIAS, so the Institute of Foreign Languages. She was a sophomore there, and she paid her like little money so that she so like that student teaches me alphabet, and that's how my like English journey started. And for the next 9 years since then, I had just been learning English, learning the grammar, learning reading books, and like learning words and everything. And to be honest, I did not quite enjoy it. I just did it because my mom wanted me to learn English, and sometimes at some points I would think, why am I doing it? But at other points I would be like, okay, like I'm doing it because I've been doing it for like the past 5 years, so I will keep learning English. And so at around the ninth grade, I realized that there is a possibility to go to universities abroad and study. And the reason why I had never thought about it beforehand was I thought it was very expensive, right? It was very expensive. It's very expensive to go to Yale. So as the title of of our today's live discussion says, I won $360,000, right? Of grant over 4 years, which means $90,000 a year. I mean, not every person in Uzbekistan probably has a yearly income of even 15, 20,000 or $10,000 a year. So it's a very expensive, it's a very good, but it's also a very expensive experience, right? Expensive experience. But yeah, I met a guy who lived not far from me, like 2, 3 kilometers maybe. And I attended his grandmother's English classes, and she was probably the strictest English teacher I have ever had in my life, and I very much respected her. And then she told us that she had a grandson, who is this phenomenal genius. He reads books in English. He reads. He watches movies in English. He's only 18 years old, and his English is like perfect. And so I wanted to meet him. And a lot of people are writing Valera, like Freshman Academy. That was Freshman Academy's founder, right? The guy whose name is Valera, pretty much renowned, I would say, in our country. So I met him when I was 15. So that was, or maybe even earlier, 13. So that was around like 2016, 2017. And I got to know him, and he told me, hey, like it's possible, you can get a financial aid from a university, but if you want to get financial aid, you'll need to aim high, you'll need to go high. Why? Because not every university will give you $360 $60,000 just for free, right? And he said, if so, like this would not work, because again, you will probably get partial, so you need to go up as high as possible. And so I was like, okay, how much time do I have? I have whatever, 4 years until before I go to university. I'll use this time to prepare. um, and he introduced me to, like, because before that I thought English was just learning grammar, but then he introduced me to this area where you can enjoy English, like you can learn English and have fun. And how does that work? That works through, again, like reading books in English, watching movies in English, watching sitcoms in English. Basically, not just trying to be in the grammar, like not just trying to do exercises, but also do something for fun, right? And that was a big push, because I realized that this is actually very cool. This is very fun. Imagine I'm watching a movie in English for the first time in my life, and I can understand it. And I was very excited about it. I was like, wow, this is cool. Like I've been learning English for 9 years, and now I can see that I really learned something cool, right? I can understand movies, or I can understand books without translating them. I can understand them in original language, which was cool. So like that gave me motivation to go forward. Then, so the founder of Freshman Academy, Valera, he got into Yale and US College in Singapore, and he got a full grant. And so from that point on, I was like, okay, I'll try to go to a good university as well. Although Yale University here had never been my goal, or like, it was a dream deep down.
Hold
But
on a second. It was never your goal, but it turns out to be like you are a student now. You're sitting in Yale now, right?
Mhm.
So now, as far as I understand, like people in your life,
Mhm.
your mother, your friends, your grandmother, and Valera, who studied at Yale, right, in Singapore. They shaped and they motivated you to try to apply for the Yale University. All right,
Yes.
that's fantastic. So now I understand your motivation. Where does it come from?
Uh,
So the question is, how did you prepare for Yale? So
right.
what was the steps?
Uh-huh. I think that was a very good, you stopped me at the right place, because that's when I was about to start to tell you about like how the whole process works. Yeah, so like that dose of motivation, and then 3 years before actually going to Yale, I started preparing. And so for me, for like sort of at that time, the goal I thought was to take IELTS. Like you take IELTS, you get as high as you can, and then you go to university, right? That's how usually it works. But turns out no. In addition to IELTS, there are also a couple other requirements that you need to satisfy, right? Things like SAT, for example. You need to take SAT, which is like a very big, American exam where where English is like the level of English is much higher. Well, I don't have to explain. It's very popular these days to take SAT, but also, yeah, you have math. And there are things called extracurricular activities, which were completely, I could not understand what they meant by extracurricular activities, because like our educational system does not really emphasize extracurricular activities. So for me to perceive that, it was quite hard. And essays, right? You need to have essays, you need to write essays, supplementals, and like motivational letter. And so lesson one that I learned over this time, and then everyone who is listening to us today can write it down. Lesson one is always reach out and ask for help. Reach out and ask your questions, because if you don't know how it works, it's better to ask the people who have done it before you. It's better to ask the people who are professionals in the field, who had done it before, who had succeeded, instead of trying to figure something out. Always try to reach out. That's the best probably resource that you will have. You have internet. You have everyone's contacts today. Reach out and ask for help. So what I did was I reached out to Valera, and I asked for help. I said, "How does it work? So what should I do?" And he's like, okay, you should take IELTS, you should take SAT, you should do extracurriculars, you should write essays. That's it. That's your list over the next 3 years. I said, okay, this is my goal. I will come back to you when I need your help. And so he taught me IELTS for about 9 months during the time. And I was preparing, and then he left to Yale in US, and I still continued preparing for IELTS. Spent about a year and a half preparing. I got 8, and the goal also was to take 8, to get an 8 with the first try. I got it with the first try, so like I got an 8. And after that, okay, so like what's on the list? SAT. So you start preparing for SAT. I reach out to Valera and I say, okay, now I need to prepare for SAT. Where can I find materials? He's like, okay, College Board, go. So I go to College Board, I download 10 tests, and I start doing tests. So you do tests, you understand how the test works. I realized that I needed extra math help. So in summer camp, I found a teacher who prepared me for math section. So I prepared for math, prepared for English, SAT, took it once, got 1420. Wasn't enough because I was told that 1500 plus was like the bar. And so I took 1420. I prepared for another like 5 months and I got 1510. So 710 for English and then 800 for math. But now I know that 1510 is not a super impressive score, I would say, because my like our students are like scoring much higher these days, and like getting 740. They can teach English, SAT English, instead of me, but they're very humble people and they're not doing it now. But in the future, I think I'm gonna be replaced, and I have fierce competition. So by my presented by my students, but it's good.
That's
I'm
good.
very happy
That's
for
good. Yeah. That's
that.
already impressive results. But you're speaking, you're telling the story, but it sounds easy, but in fact, it's not that easy as it seems. So, um, IELTS 8 and SAT 1520, as you said, is like something high.
Yeah.
It's most of the people cannot really achieve these results.
Hmm.
Um, that's really impressive. Your academic background is like strong enough to compete for Yale. So
Right.
what else? What do you think? What else made you, I don't know, unique or specific so that they
Yeah.
decided to take you on board?
Right. So two more things to mention in addition to IELTS and SAT. Well, three. One is very short. One is GPA, right? Your transcripts, how you study at school, they really look at it. So if you want to go to places like Yale, your grades at school should be very good. So if we have like young viewers right now, study well at school. I would say study well at school, get good grades, and then go to places like this because they look at your GPA. But the other two things, very important, that make you stand out, right? Like as Sirojidinaka, is asking. First, extracurriculars, right? It's something that is not super developed in our country, but it is being in the process of like, you know, we are raising awareness about it. I mean, like Ibrat is already doing it. I think this is one of the coolest extracurricular activities that you can engage with at in Uzbekistan. So extracurriculars, things that you do outside school, right? Outside academia. And so something that I did was I got into the Yale Young Global Scholars Program in 2020 before going to Yale, which is the summer school for high schoolers who are interested in like studying at a place like Yale. But that was very short. That was like 2 weeks, the summer program. And I decided to apply. I learned about the program 1 week before the deadline, so I rushed. I compiled all the documents. I submitted. Again, never expecting, because in my mind I thought Yale, right? That's something. I cannot get into Yale, right? And then 3 months later, I get an acceptance. They say, "Hey, come! Like we like your document. We want you to be there." And they admit, and I do the program, although it was online, because it was COVID. But that, I think, helped a little bit, because what happened there is, in my extracurricular activities, when you pull up my document, you see Yale Young Global Scholars and you see the Yale name there, and it like gives you the Yale brand in some ways. Because in addition to Yale Young Global Scholars, I became the ambassador of the program to Uzbekistan. So like if you have any questions about Yale Young Global Scholars, you can ask me, because well, I did the program, I know a lot about it. And I also did research with Yale undergrads, with my mentor at Yale. So I had 3 Yale names on my extracurricular list, which was good.
That's good. They say, "Oh, this is our guy,
Yeah.
Yale guy."
Yeah.
That's great. It means before going to Yale, you connected some different programs, which is connected to Yale. So it's
Yeah.
like breaking down into pieces and then
Right.
taking it, one by one.
Yeah.
Very
Mhm.
clever strategy. Yeah.
But I will tell you that you don't have to. Like, I don't want to, I don't want people to misunderstand, but you don't have to do. If you want to go to like Yale, you don't have to do Yale Young Global Scholars, because other people from Uzbekistan, right? We have another two students from Uzbekistan getting into Yale after me. They didn't have Yale Young Global Scholars. They had other extracurriculars. But I think for me, it was a little push that, hey, he has a Yale name. But then the final thing, the final, I think, element in this application process is an essay, like what you write, right? How you think. An essay is probably the most important part of your application because essay represents your level of English, your level of creativity, the way you think about the world, right? And so essay provides great insight into like who you are, especially your personal statement. And so again, reach out to ask, right? I reached out to Valera again and I said, how do you write this essay? I have no idea. You know, and he was like, okay, this looks like this. So we like he told me, he helped me. I would every like week I would write an essay. I would send it to him. I would send it to his younger brother who also goes to Yale in US, and they would read my essay, give me feedback, and then send it back, right? And so this process lasted for about like 3 months. um, and we had like I had been sort of developing, polishing, writing my essay, and then finally I produced a good essay. I can tell you if you want about my essay later, if you you know if we have time. But I finally produced the essay. I wrote the essay. I wrote the supplementals, and then I applied to universities. I applied to 16 universities. Among them was Yale, but among them was also Yale in US in Singapore, NYU Abu Dhabi in Abu Dhabi, right? My goal was to go to Yale in US in Singapore or NYU Abu Dhabi because I never dreamt about Yale. I was like, this wouldn't work. This is too hard. Yale in US is like more doable, more feasible. NYU Abu Dhabi is more doable. It's also closer to home. Um, I applied to all universities, and when I get decisions, Yale in US rejects me, NYU Abu Dhabi waitlists me. I go depressed for about 1 week before I hear back from Yale, who says that they're accepting me. And so that's how I got into Yale.
Like two other campuses, like it's like under Yale US, right? Like
Uh, yeah, so
this
yeah,
like
only Yale in US.
campuses.
Yeah, yeah. Yale in US in Singapore is sort of the collaboration of Yale here and National University of Singapore in Singapore.
Okay, that's perfect. Now you got accepted to Yale.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you felt when you arrived to Yale? So how it is like tell us about your emotions. This is one of the
Right.
interesting part.
Um, okay. I will tell you the story and then we'll do lesson two, like something that we can learn from this talk, right? Because we all come here to learn. And so how I felt excited, but I also felt very much terrified because I I had never I had traveled abroad just a few times in my life, a couple times before that, before coming to Yale. And even if I did, I was always with my parents or with my family. I had never lived alone. I had never lived without my family. So for me to go to another part of the world alone, without anyone who I know, to a place where there are no students from Uzbekistan was a little scary. And when I came, I was I was excited. I was very happy to be here, but I was extremely homesick. I was extremely homesick. I missed family. I missed friends. I missed plov. I missed samsa. I missed food. I missed shashlik, because this like you cannot find things like this here, like the food. I mean, and so I was terribly homesick. But I guess that's just the period of adaptation anyone must undergo. So if anyone here goes to university soon, or is planning and hopefully gets in, you might feel very homesick in the first months, because that's how it lasted for me, how much it lasted. So like 1 month, you're going to be very homesick. You're going to like miss your family a lot. But then after that, you get busy, and you try you start living life here, and you adapt to the place. And the first months I would say was the hardest, because yes, I was excited. It's Yale, right? You know, you see all these cool buildings, but you understand that studying here is not easy. You have to work hard. Socializing here is, you know, it can be easy, it can be hard. Why? Because it's very easy to make friends. It's very easy. For example, if I see Surjinaka like on the street, I meet him, and he says, "Hey, let's get dinner," right? We go get dinner. We introduce ourselves to each other, but then in about I will not see him until like the next month, because we're all so busy and it's very hard to make close friends. That's what I like realized my first semester.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's like it's not like real friends, like the people
not
who you know.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like as I said,
Hmm.
can't really talk about your life, your,
Yeah.
I don't know, personal stuffs that you want
Yeah.
to share sometimes. Uh, but yeah, as far as I know, you study with Jeff Bezos' son, uh, right? And this is not the. I mean, uh, he says like, don't talk about Kimball Masson. But anyway, they're different people.
Right.
They're human beings. Like even like the
Yeah.
top mans, top business
Mhm.
people. Like we say, oh, these are like cool guys, but they're like human beings.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they've got something special. I mean, about ideas, about the world.
Yeah.
And the question is, how do how is it like to be like this around these people who thinks differently, who've got mission to change the world and make a better place? It's like, I mean, they're really doing it.
Right.
So question is, how do you feel about them? So your dreams, your like life goals have changed or are changing?
Well, at first you are scared of them again. I think there's this cool phrase that I learned, imposter syndrome, meaning when you come to a place, you think everyone around you is so much smarter, so much more handsome, so much more beautiful, so much more well built, uh, just simply so much more successful. And you come there and you're like, what am I doing here? What am I even doing here? Because like this guy, he read 1,000 books in his life. Like this guy invented this guy like writes in the newspapers. And you're a little scared. You think, okay, like I
Okay.
cannot compete with them. But then again, guys, takes time. You prepare, you work well, you work hard, you push yourself. Because my first semester, like I probably worked a lot, and I did double the work. Why? Because I knew that there were a lot of like, gaping holes in my knowledge of like everything. So I had to work to do extra work to like be on the same level with them. And so once you are on the same level with them, which I think I am now, you start working with them. You start collaborating with them. You start, you know, because you can provide something for them. You can contribute to the conversation. They can contribute to the conversation. And so one example is I started the first and only Central Asian club at Yale, and it's called Asian Crossroads, and we are basically uniting all the Central Asians and people who are interested in Central Asia at Yale. And so I have a great team, and not all of whom are Central Asians. We have like American students as well who are helping me bring like the Central Asia agenda at Yale. And just yesterday, we had our biggest event probably so far. The club is young. The club is like 6 months old, but so far we had the biggest event ever. We invited the Uzbek ambassador to the U.S., Canada, and Brazil, Ambassador Javlon Vakhabov, to come to Yale and hold a panel discussion with our students, and we were very honored to have him. So,
Wow.
and it wouldn't be possible without collaborating, right?
That's great. Now, like active people, like active everywhere, even at Yale, at Harvard.
Yeah.
That's good. I think you guys like co-founded this club in Yale, like Central Asian Youth. I don't know how did you
Mhm.
start it, but that's already something. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy. But I think we've got different questions, and
Let's do it. Mhm.
most of them about your application.
Let's do it.
And
Hmm.
people like watching, and they're like really interested and keen to know, how did you write about your essay? What
Mm,
did you tell them? How did you
right,
tell them? So
right.
what kind of questions you answered? So
Yeah.
everything about your essay, which is
That's
the most
that's
important thing.
that's a great question. That's a great question. I'm happy we have time to discuss it. So as I told you before, I had spent about 3 months writing an essay. Again, this was a very much like a process. When you write an essay, you send it to a person. He checks it. He gives you feedback. He sends you back. He says it's very bad. He says it's not going to work. He gives you the motivation, and you write again. So I had like 12 drafts, 12, 15 maybe attempts to write, to come to that idea, not even like the essay itself, but to an idea, like what I want to write about, right? And as you know, the personal statement is about 650 words. And so I decided to split my essay into 4 parts. And I decided, I the choice of an idea is very important, as I said. So 12 attempts and I come to an idea. Why does it take me 12 attempts? Because there is a sort of common misconception that your personal statement should be about something like very cool. You have to be such a bright personality. You have to be a Nobel Prize winner or laureate. You have to be someone else, right? But you don't have to be. My idea in my essay was about how my love towards learning English helped me to become who I was at that time. Simply the process of just learning English, which I told you before, right? I told you that in the beginning of our interview, I told you that the first 9 months I did it just because my mom wanted me to learn English, and I had never sort of questioned why I did it. But then I learned something new. I learned that you can actually watch movies, read books in English, and then it's fun. And I wrote about that idea. I wrote about this, simply the thing that I really enjoyed doing. It doesn't have to be super cool. And I wanted to tell a story of myself, but I also wanted to tell about the culture where I come from. And so the first paragraph of my essay was about a Samarkand wedding. And we know how weddings in Samarkand are, very pompous. They're grandiose. They're everything, right? They're the biggest event in your life. And so through that setting, I tried telling the reader the culture where I come from. I tried including some moments in my life where I could, like, so for example, um, when I okay, I'll let's so like when I speak, um let's see. So I come from Samarkand, and in Samarkand you have to know, in addition to like Russian and Uzbek, you have to know Tajik as well, because everything is in Tajik. And so like I practice my Tajik, but I know that when I speak Tajik I have a Russian accent when I speak Tajik, and I probably have a Russian accent when I speak Uzbek as well. But in Tajik I do have it. And so some people always remarked on it. Some people always said that I have an accent, and I didn't like it. Like I knew it, but I didn't like people telling me that. And I included that in my essay. Little details, right? They help you. And then second paragraph, I told how I started learning English in a way that I told you, like movies, books, debate club, everything. So like basically it was an escape from me for me to like something to a place where I really enjoyed being at. Third paragraph was how English changed me and how it brought me to an international level, and how I got into Yale Young Global Scholars, and how we created our debate club and we debated, we grew the club, right? And then fourth paragraph was just reflection, right? So this is how my life turned out to be. This is what I thought I was, but then there was a big change in my life. I started learning English and I saw it from a different angle, and this is who it made me today, and this is what I want to do in the future at college and after college, right? So it has to be an essay that is perfectly well structured. Intro, where you come from, past, turning point, transformation, who are you now, what are your goals in the future. But again, doesn't have to be perfectly like that. That was my essay. And yeah, that's an answer to your question.
Okay, means thank you very much. Being honest, because not many people can open all the structure, even all the details.
Yeah.
Two things to mention about your approach and essay. So first is details.
Yeah.
Even you mention what you don't like about here, even like the accent. And the second thing that we should know that it's not about all the time something, as you said, grandiose or I don't know, something pompous. It's like
Yeah.
just the learning English
Yeah.
can be a really good topic where
Mm-hmm.
you can talk about, where you can express your feelings and I don't know your personality
Mm-hmm.
and show it's enough. Um, when I was writing an essay, I spent like a 6 months or more. As you had like I had also like
It's very hard,
experience
right?
like sharing
Yeah.
sharing it with my
Yeah.
friends and
Uh-huh.
mentors.
Yeah.
Like they're like different feedbacks, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you get depressed. You think, oh goodness, I'm not gonna write it because
Mm-hmm.
uh, the biggest problem is you want it perfect at the first attempt,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you stress.
Yeah.
The first thing you should know is like it's not gonna be perfect in like couple of attempts. You should
Right.
wait, you should reread, you should rewrite, you need
Mm-hmm.
feedback. So that's it takes time. So that's why guys, if you want to study abroad, if you're gonna apply, then you should have time, at least 6 months or a year. So if you want a Yale, I think as Umid prepared like 3 years, you started preparing literally 3 years from your acceptance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you prepared for IELTS, SAT, you wrote essays, you asked all the time advice from your friends, and then
Mm-hmm.
it took like 3 years. It's not like 6 months and then you're in Yale.
Boom, right?
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
magic and you're in Yale. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing that you should know about.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that's really interesting about for me personally is interesting to know about you is like your background. So I mean as a student, where did you live? Did your parents like spend millions and millions in you like to be at Harvard, or how did it happen? But most people, they think like whoever studies abroad, they have like bunch of money to spend on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So can you
Well,
tell me about it?
yeah.
So if it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. Of course. So I went again, as I said, I went to a public state school in Samarkand. So I think that already should be an indication that my parents did not invest like millions and millions. They invested some money, that is true. I think if they didn't help me financially, I wouldn't be here. Even if, first of all, my mom did not sign up me for languages, for English language, I would not be here. If my uh, father did not support me financially, I wouldn't be here. So I'm grateful for them, but not millions and millions. I did not go to elite, prestigious private schools, and I simply learned English by attending extra classes, just repetitere, as we say, as we say. So I just learned English, and I had I had math teachers as well who prepared me for, like, because I'm an economics major here. So if you want to learn economics, you also have to know a lot of math. But it was just a normal Uzbek experience. I grew up in an middle class family, and I think you can learn your lesson from this. You can learn that you don't have to go to a cool private school, but you have to be very dedicated. You have to be like, be willing to learn the language in order to study abroad. And as Sirojidinaka flagged that you need time for this. It's not possible. It could be, but it's not possible if your English is like at an intermediate level and you have 1 year to prepare and you want to go to Yale. You need to have like more realistic expectations always. And as I said before, my realistic expectation was, NYU Abu Dhabi or like Yale in US, not Yale at all. Set expectations that are right. And again, anything is possible. You can come from a middle class family like I did. You don't have to go to a cool private school. You don't have to have the most expensive teachers in the world, and you still can do it because of your dedication and because of like that single goal that I want to be there.
That's perfect, and it goes to the saying like if you expect much, you disappoint much.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
I
what it is.
yeah,
You take your time, you prepare, you ask for your help, and then you don't expect much. Then
yeah,
you will have something.
yeah.
So that's beautiful. And the thing you mentioned it like a couple of times, you asked for help from
Mm-hmm.
someone.
Mm-hmm.
So most people think they assume.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like assumptions, but most people assume, and then based on their assumption, they decide for the rest of their life. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like they
Yeah,
decide based on assumption. They don't
yeah,
really check. They
yeah,
think like if I'm gonna ask something from someone,
yeah.
they ask something back, or they don't respond, or they ignore. I don't know. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you find that person, and how did you approach them? So was that person your relative, or your brother,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know, someone?
This is yeah. You're asking great questions. I'm happy you're asking them. I think this is something that people absolutely should know. Assumptions, yeah, as you said, like sort of prejudices that you have before you do anything, right? You have to be very, very, very open to all the changes that happen around you. You have to be very flexible. You have to be like, you have to adapt. You have to be able to adapt. If people tell you that, uh, for example, there is a common misconception, right? There is an assumption that if you I don't know. If you learn IELTS, you get a enough score, you can go to like places like Yale or Harvard, right? And then when these people get like 6.5, they reach out to me and say, "I got 6.5, just a little short of 7. Can I still go to Yale?" That's not possible. Why? And it's not their fault. It's because someone else told them before that just getting IELTS is enough. So, and these people are usually surprised. They're like, "Oh wait, but I got IELTS, why is it not enough?" And so when I started explaining, they get very surprised. Don't be surprised at anything when people had done so. Like when people had done something before you and succeeded, you always have to accept their opinion. And in my case, it was a big turning point, because I met Valera, the founder of Freshman Academy, when I was 13, because I went to his grandmother's classes. And so she introduced me to him. And then you can think about it, right? Like, just imagine. So you are 14 years old, you're a child, and then there's an 18-year-old kid who says he's a teacher. And you go to your mom and say, "I want him to be my teacher. I like him." And then your mom says, "But he's young. He's 18 years old. Like, how can he be a teacher?" And I explained to her, so one, he is this; two, he is this; three, he is this; four, he is this. And my mom said, "Okay, I mean, if you like it, if you enjoy it, go study if you think it's going to help you." So see, some other person could have said, so if we have parents here, some other person could have said, "But he's 18, right? What is he going to teach you? He's young. I mean, out here you have, like, go walk like 1 kilometer. I will find you the most expensive teacher in the city. He's experienced. He has worked for 40 years and he has taught in many universities. He will teach you English." I said, "No, I want to go here." And so my mom was open for this. So you always need to listen, be able to understand. And for parents, I understand your children are young. You might they know, they don't know everything in this world. You think you know better than them, but let them try. If you think they are liking it, if you think they're really enjoying and improving, that's their spot. Don't chase brands, don't chase popular shiny things, because there were a couple centers when I was a child, like 15, 16 years old. There were centers in our city that was the most popular. Everyone in my city went into those centers, but I didn't like them. I simply didn't enjoy them. And I think I could convince my parents why. My parents were open and they allowed me to do what I wanted. So always listen, always be able to explain, but also be able to listen to other person's opinions and be open to changes. Don't chase popular, shiny, brandy stuff.
That's great. Like, this man like influenced you. This man helped you a lot. I'm really happy. We met once,
We met one.
but as far as I understand, he's like cool man. He's helping our like young generation to conquer this like Ivy League universities and top universities. But he is very pragmatic and realistic.
Yeah.
He sets the goal very realistically. Then it means you asked help from your teacher. And at the time, have you ever asked help from like strangers, like the people that you don't really know, but you want to contact them, you want to ask question? Have you ever had such a similar story? Mhm.
Well, I think I did it once with Valera. I did not know about him, but after that we got very close. And I think it's just for me. I think to have that one person was enough. If I ever came to a need of asking a stranger, I would ask, but I would be careful at first because I mean he's a stranger, right? I don't know about him, so hopefully, like I would get friendly with that person and then ask for like more help, right? But mostly for that period of my life, I wanted to have just one person who sort of served me as a mentor, right? Who I could look up to, and I could say, I want to be there as well, and I need to do what he did, and if I have any questions, I need to reach out. And he was so Valera was like much easier to reach out to in those times, because like right now he's super busy, but in those times we didn't have freshmen. So he was just he helped his younger brother. Like he showed him the ways, and then I was like I asked for help, he showed me the ways as well, and then it sort of became what we now know as freshman academy. And now, like as a formal, like as a solid institution where you prepare students. But at that time, sort of I viewed the person as a mentor, and I think it helped a
Mhm.
lot.
So, yes, today we had a talk with a couple of students about like helping and asking for help.
Uh-huh.
As far as I know, many people reach out to you asking for help and advice. So, what do you think? What's the common mistakes like these people do when they ask for help? I'll start by giving some examples. For example, when they know like I studied at Great Britain in Great Britain at Edinburgh
Hmm.
University, they say, "Oh, I want to go to Great Britain. I want to study there. I'm really happy that I know you." And then they send a question: "Do you help me in applying for universities?" And I said yes. And the next is like the question mark comes, and I said question mark back. So they
Uh-huh.
expect me like they ask one question, can I go abroad or can I study there? And the answer is yes.
Hmm.
So to these questions, I don't waste my time
Yeah.
because they don't really know what they're asking for. They
Yeah.
haven't done any solid research first. They don't have any specific question to ask. And I
Yeah.
say, hey, we are losing our time.
Yeah.
You are wasting your time. I'm wasting time. So I
Mhm.
simply ignore this. So how does it happen to you? How do you manage these all the conversations?
I completely agree with you. I think it's just anyone who is here and should understand that like at this point, it's, yeah, as you said, it's very expensive to waste time these days. And so not in the financial way, but it's simply like it's expensive in a way that you have so many other things to do, right? But when people reach out with questions like this, it also, it's a little bit I don't feel quite well when I get a question that is like one line long, and which is like very broad. And questions can be like, I have IELTS 6, how do I get into Yale? Like those are just please don't judge me, but those are ridiculous questions. And you need to like do the research, as Regina said, because if you ask questions like this, if you ask very short, broad, without even saying hello, how are you, questions, you're not going to get to receive a response. And it's you have to show that you truly care about it, that you are that you have a goal, that you have done your research, and that you are willing to, even in the way you write your text, like how well you sound, right? Are you trying to be aggressive in the text and tell me that I must help you, or are you politely asking me to like give you directions, right? Which is completely different things. And I would prefer the second person who asked politely for like some advice or directions, and I would be happy to help that person. But the person who didn't even say hello, or who says, yeah, as you said, right, Siraj Dinakaya is like the person who, do you help me to get into, yes, right, but you don't say anything else. So learn how to be polite, learn how to text people, learn how to do your research. Because again, I'm always happy to help you, I always tell it to people, I'm always happy to help them, but we're also human beings, and we also want, to receive good, sort of, we want to be addressed well, and we want to receive good text messages, well researched, so that we are willing to help you. So keep that in mind in the future as well. There will be many more people, who are in education at places like Yale. They will not reply to you if you like, yeah, if you do things like what Siraj just mentioned. I wanted to say something else, but I forgot. I will come back to it later.
Yeah, sure, sure. Treat people like you want to be treated. This is, I
Yeah,
think, one of my
exactly.
most, let's say, golden rule that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like respect people's time, and I want to be treated like that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm quite sure, like 99% of like those students who studies abroad, they want to see more people in their university, and they're ready to help. But the thing is, most young people, sometimes think that it's okay to be, not okay. So they say hi, or as you said, they don't even say hi, just
Mm-hmm.
aggressively, you should help me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Those,
yeah.
uh, that's what I felt like several times, and I said, okay, we should do something, and we started this project, and we're like aggressively promoting, hey, you should be diplomat, you should be polite, you should ask help. If you don't know, ask. This is simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question, which connects to the essay,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this is one of the most important part of our interview. Like, did you say something about your future goal, or I don't know? Did you convince the Yale admission committee, or how do you say it, uh,
Yeah.
that if they accept you, you should do something. You will do something.
Right.
So how it happened? So
If
about
I
your future goal.
Oh, about my future goal.
Yeah. Was there any chance to talk about future goal? So if yes, how?
Wow, that's a good question, because it's a good question, but I don't remember what I wrote as my future goal. I know that my application was surrounded around, um, me, you know, loving the process of learning English and getting to this international level. And I think the goal was, to spread awareness about this in my region, where the place where I come from, and help the people who also have the same goal of going to university abroad, right? And I think in some ways, as I am telling this to you, it worked out quite well, because well, we are helping students to get into universities abroad, and it's going quite well. We had and two more students get into Yale last year and this year, and I think this is a great result. But really about the goal in my essay, like apart from this, apart from raising awareness in Uzbekistan, apart from helping people from Uzbekistan, I do not really talk about it. Why? Because I think at this point, it's when you're a high schooler, when you just graduate from high school, it's okay if you don't have a clear goal in the future. Like it's okay if you don't know, you know, what you will want to become or where you want to go. And I think admissions officers, they completely understand this, because like when you graduate from high school, you're what, like 16 years old. How can you know what you want to do when you're 16 years old, when you just graduated from high school? So if you are also thinking about it, if you think, what am I going to share as my biggest goal, it's okay if you don't have it, you're too young. But also, something that is very important in essays is that the way your application works, it's like a it's like a s- it's basically a combination of everything, and it's one story. So your essay, your extracurriculars, your supplemental essays, they should all make sense, and they should all make up one big picture of you. And so if you in these three parts, if you are telling me that you like, that you like learning computer science, for example, it wouldn't make sense if in the end, as your big goal, you will say, actually, I want to be a politician, I want to be the president of my country. So it wouldn't work. The lesson learned from here is that every bit of your application should be tied, it should be connected. It's just one big single document, and every part of it should make sense. So if you tell me, if your application comes from a person who is like very much computer science, like he did a lot of extracurriculars, essay is about computer science, doesn't have to be, but something in that direction, your goal in the end should also be computer science, obviously. So just remember that your application is like connected.
That's perfect. It means your all documents, your essay, your recommendation, your extracurricular activities. It's like you are drawing your picture, like imaginary picture with
Yeah.
this all this material and it, like a puzzle.
Hmm.
So yeah, they should match as you said.
Exactly.
That that's great. So now we're talking like for about 1 hour. I mean, this
Hmm.
this is exciting. Like you're so good speaker and listener. So we're doing great, I think.
Hmm.
So we've got many questions on YouTube channel. So if you don't mind, or if you don't have anything else to add,
Uh-huh.
for now, we can go and jump into the questions, and we'll talk about questions then
Yeah,
people
let's talk
ask.
about questions, of course.
So we've got different questions. So most of them, there's an answer during the interview. So
Hmm.
for them, we don't spend time. So they asked about IELTS. So American. Uh, okay, this is the question that so about your future. As you said, like maybe you're too young to talk about future goals. You
Yeah.
better focus on your studies now, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, it's totally fine if you don't have a future clear goal. It's fine. I still don't have it, so it's okay.
So okay. 1 second. We should have something interesting question. Hmm. So this is the question Dilshodbek Xolmirzayev is asking. Men American bakalavr o'qimoqchiman maktabda Saxodat maktabda.
Um,
They're
well,
asking about
yeah,
probably you understand, right?
yeah. Yeah. Um, well,
You answered. I guess you
yeah,
answered about for this question. So yeah, your grades ya'ni siz baholaysiz albatta rol o'ynaydi. Shahodatnomaga qaraydi va albatta siz
GPA, right?
uh,
So yeah,
aha.
GPA matters a lot. I so if again, try not to have like three, right? As we say it, threes in your transcript. because when admissions officer sees threes in your transcript, it's already a red flag. So in my transcript, I had all fives. So what do we call it? The red diploma, with honors. But GPA matters.
That's good. Okay, молодец, Umid. Well done, Daletiano. Probably your
Thank
friend
you.
Farangiz Rasul. They're clapping.
Uh-huh.
Um, brother, they're saying thank you, Surajidzin. Okay, different version of my
See?
name version. So
But it's respect. It's respectful. See, he called you a
yeah,
brother.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's already like the shot big. Thank you very much. And here we go. Ozoda Murzakwa is asking very, very interesting and important question.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So her daughter is going to study at
Yeah.
America. So
It's very hard with daughters. Always, it's very hard with daughters in our country. Not to say in general, especially with parents, because yeah, you want your children to be safe. Um, and I well, it all depends on your child, right? How she, well, in this case your daughter, how she perceives the world. She has to be careful of herself. I At Yale, we have never had any issues. Oh well, no, not never, but I mean at the time when I was here, I cannot say, maybe there was something before, but over the past 2 years, when I since I've been here, nothing happened, nothing crazy happened. Girls have always been safe. And I think this place just simply doesn't allow for any crimes or for anything bad that could happen to girls. Actually, there are more girls getting into good universities these days from Uzbekistan than boys. We had two girls studying in Princeton University in New Jersey. With, amazing, like, very 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 smart people. I know a couple friends in Philadelphia, which is not a very safe place, I would say. It can get, like, the streets can be a little unsafe at night. And so I have a friend there, and she's like very careful about her safety. She's very careful. She doesn't go out at night. She always, like, walks with someone. She's never alone, if she goes out alone, right? So it all depends on the child, but also I think America is not the most safest country. I will admit that. And but places like this, like Yale, if your daughter goes to, like, great, like, prestigious universities, safety is like number one. In less prestigious universities, safety is also, like, they take great care. But then again, it's the child, it's the person who takes care of herself, of himself. And nothing bad will happen unless the person intentionally goes to a place which is dangerous. So,
okay,
but everything else is fine.
that's great. Here Hamdamovich, Samarkand. Okay, Samarkand Rulit. Okay, that's good. Uh, okay, oyga qancha topsa bo'ladi?
Well,
How much do you earn?
maybe we could talk about campus work, right? It's You can work on campus. I think they pay around $15 an hour, on average. Some people earn 20. So $15 per hour, you can work for about 20 hours per week. So that's $300 per week, that you can earn. I don't have an on-campus job, and because, like, I have many other things to do, including teaching and freshmen. And so for me, there was no great need of working on campus. But again, if you come, a lot of my friends, not at Yale, they work. I would say it's quite hard to combine work with academics, right? It both take a lot of time. But when you win a full grant, you don't have to work, right? Yale even gives you some money in the beginning to, like, spend and buy clothes. But you can work, and it's I think my friends are doing well.
That's good. Means you can work at Yale and
Yeah.
campus during different
You
positions.
can
That's
be a librarian, for example. You can work in the library. You can work in the laboratory doing experiments. So all kinds of jobs.
Ooh. Yep, that's perfect. So, Yo, Umid.
Oh, that's my past student. Yeah, understandable.
Okay. Who's just that? Freshman Academy. Okay, they're like, oh, many people know you, Umid. That's good. Like you're a superstar.
I'm glad. Well,
Yeah, if that's
I
not your
try
brother. Yeah.
to like tell more about life here and to tell more about like basically the whole application process through like Instagram and anything, everything. So probably that's why.
Okay, that's good. Ingliz tilini noldan o'rganmoqchiman. Ibrat farzandlarda o'rgansa bo'ladi YouTube'dan. You can learn on
Yes.
our YouTube channel, so we got it. So it's very
Oh.
personal. Okay, something interesting. Yeah, let's go. Tell us about what happened on
Okay.
your birthday.
Yeah, I can literally show you a picture. I cooked plov. Yes, I cooked plov, which was a very interesting experience. You can check it out yourself and then tell me if it looks well. But can you see it? I don't know. So yeah. So here.
Yeah,
This,
it looks like a plov.
yeah, that looks like
Not
it,
bad.
right? It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I can see it. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Not bad.
Not a
It-
shola.
yeah.
Like it looks well. I was yeah. My birthday was on Monday, and the week before I went to Brooklyn, New York, because in Brooklyn, New York, you can find anything like that comes from Uzbekistan, and you can even talk to people there in Uzbek. You can talk to people in Russian, in Tajik, like any language, because it's how you have heard of like Little Italy, Chinatown in New York. There is also
Oh, yeah.
Uzbek Town, I think, in Brooklyn, and it's a very big one. There is a Tashkent supermarket in Brooklyn,
Yeah, I've
um,
seen it on
which is
videos.
which is very good but very expensive. And I bought the bread. I bought rice, which is like laser rice, as we like,
Mhm.
which the one that we use usually. I came home and I cooked plov for my friends. Took 4 hours to cook plov. I know it doesn't take that much, but it was the first time I cooked plov, and I was with my mom all this time on the phone. Although it was like 3 o'clock at night in her place in Samarkand, I was on the phone with my mom for 4 hours, and she was telling me what to do.
All
And I
right.
eventually cooked plov, and it was good. It wasn't a shola. It wasn't like home, of course, cooked
Mhm.
like
Was
your
it your
mom
first
cooks
time?
plov. But it was my first time, and I think for first time it was. My friends loved it. I didn't much, to be honest, because I
Yeah.
know how plov should taste like.
Yeah, they have
But
nothing
they
to
enjoyed
compare
it.
with, so that's
Yeah,
all.
so it was
This is
good.
all the best one they ever tried. That's beautiful. So, guys, if you want to study abroad, you better learn how to prepare plov.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah,
I
it's
learned a
something
little bit
must have.
before going, but I didn't learn plov. Learn how to cook your stuff so that you can give it to your friends.
Okay, that's perfect. So the next comment. So, people happy to be in the same province from like
Well,
Umi.
it's
That's good.
it's a city, guys. I mean, yeah, province, but it's Samarkand.
Anyway, oh well, this is city, all right.
It's not a province.
Anyway, yeah. Wow, Yale'da o'qirkanman. Yes. Omad yor bo'lsin. So, Amerikada o'qishni xohlayman. Qanday qilib Amerikada o'qisam bo'ladi? Topshiring, hujjat topshirib o'qisa bo'ladi.
Mhm.
Amerikaga qanaqa borsa bo'ladi? Samolyotda borsa bo'ladi. That's all very simple
That's the
questions.
best
So,
answer.
mm, people are asking like, can I like if I study 8 hours a
Mm.
day,
Those three
can I
months.
take like
Um,
3 hours?
um, it's let's say 8 hours is a like a big contribution. If you can do 8 hours every day for 3 months, yes, you could do it. But then I'll tell you my story. I started learning English. I started studying for IELTS after having studied grammar for like 5 years or something. So as I went into IELTS, I already had very solid grammar and very solid, quite solid, quite a good vocabulary range, like quite a broad one. And the first test that I took, I got a 5.5, 6, and it took me about 3, 4 months to get to 7. No, no, not 3 months, like maybe more, like 6 months. I studied for about like maybe 3 hours every day, not eight. I couldn't do eight. And I got but I think it depends on a person. It depends from a person. It You cannot measure it. Like whatever you can do, however much your brain can absorb, you should do that.
Mhm.
And it don't measure it. Like as long as study for how long, however long you want. I cannot tell you the exact number, but it
Right.
has to be at least 3 hours, I would say, a day, and every day.
Yeah, as you said, there is no like one single recipe for
Yeah.
everyone or for success. Like it
Hmm.
really depends what type of learner you are, like static, visual, or
Yeah.
listener, or you read a lot. So
Th-
it's
there
it
there is
all
uh-huh.
depends.
There's one question in the chat, like I can see it in the comments, which is, I think
Hmm.
it's interesting. What is the optimal number of times an applicant can take the SAT? People say that if you take it too many times, it will negatively affect your application. I think that's a good question. I
Hmm.
think
Hmm. There we go.
uh, you can take it once, two, three, four, five. I know people who took it 5 times, and even 6 times, and it didn't affect their application. They still got into university. I would say my understanding towards exams was a specific one. I always wanted to take it like with the first try, so that's why IELTS I took it with the first try and I got 8. And SAT, I was prepared to take it 2 or 3 times, because I hate exams. I cannot bear them, so I cannot take them 5 times. So I said I will take it at most 3 times, and that's it. And so I took it twice. My recommendation is like prepare well and go there when you feel you are ready. So that's how I did with my exams. That's always the best feeling. Don't take SAT every month. It's not going to help you. You need some time, right? You take SAT, then you prepare for like 3 months, and then you take another SAT. But don't take SAT every month for 5 months. It's not effective and it's expensive. You probably know it.
Tushunmayapman, brat. Okay, you learn English. We've got classes on YouTube. YouTube'da kirib ingliz tili o'rgansangiz bo'ladi. Turg'unali. Albatta o'qing. Mana bu yerda katta harflar bilan yozibdilar. Yil o'qiydilarmi? Speaking
I
language.
I can take another question from the comments if you want.
Now I'm yeah, please go ahead. I'm like looking for
Yeah,
this
yeah,
question.
yeah. How about
Yeah.
like you probably I'll let you find it, and then I can take that question. So Umijon Husanov is asking, after graduating university, how can we find a job that is connected to our job, or will companies find us? I think this is a great question, because before coming to Yale, I thought companies will find you, and this is not true at all. Companies never find you. uh, Nobody, you should understand, when you go abroad, or when you basically, I think it's adult life. So Janaka, I think I'm getting old and I start to understand how it is to be an adult. uh, and
Okay.
I think your life, guys, your life is very tough. I think it's very hard to be an adult, because when you're a child, everyone brings everything to you on a plate and says take it. But when you're a grown up, like an adult building your own life, you understand that this no one does this for you. No one brings anything to you on a plate ready. So with jobs, when you graduate from a university, you apply yourself again. You make the effort. You find those companies. You apply, and you tell them why you want to work in their company. Companies, because this is what people, again, in Uzbekistan think, and this is what a lot of my relatives also thought. We used to say, oh, you're going to graduate from Yale, companies will automatically find you. No, it never works like this. You apply, you reach out, you make the effort, you struggle, you work, and then they will give you a job. No one will reach out to you and say, please come to our company.
it's not that easy. It seems to be,
Yeah,
right. Like people think if I study at top universities, companies will find me, and then I'll just earn bunch of money.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's not gonna that. It's not gonna
exactly.
be so easy.
Yeah,
So where do you to find these questions? I started from very beginning. So
I don't know. It's the comments in like on the right I have here.
mm,
So
okay.
let's see.
Question is, can we reach out to you for help?
Can we reach out for help, and how can we do that? Um, so, so I am affiliated, so like I work at Freshman Academy. So we have Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and you can reach out to people there. And if you want to take any courses at Freshman, we have I teach SAT at Freshman, but I also help like with applications at the end of the year. So when you're applying to universities, like reading essays, helping, commenting, editing, not I mean helping like with feedback. There are also a couple other courses there will be like that open up, that will open up like IELTS or like advanced English. So you can reach out to freshmen. You can reach out directly to me on Telegram, I would say, or Instagram. But then yeah, again, please take the effort to write a good message so that I have the willingness to like really help you, because again, your messages, the way you write, tell me a lot about you and whether I can help you or not. So be as clear as possible and be write a good message. So, but yeah, message me. I don't know. I cannot write in the chat, unfortunately, but you can find me on Telegram or Instagram, Umid Usmonov, and yeah,
Mm, okay. We've got so many questions. Oh goodness, and most
yeah.
of them like you already answer. So yeah, now I found the question that you read. So it's the option number of time. So
So someone is asking recommendation letters, right?
yep, yep. Oh, by the way, yeah.
Yeah,
We haven't talked about recommendation letters. So
yeah,
from whom you took the recommendation letter and how did it affect to your application?
right. Um, Also, someone is asking how old am I? I'm 20 years old. But yeah, recommendation letters. Um, so who wrote them for me? My teachers. My teachers wrote the recommendation letters for me. But my teachers were very clear to me. They said, yes, we can give you a recommendation letter, but we don't know how to write recommendation letters. which was which was interesting and understandable. Again, I went to a public school, Russian speaking, so I that understandable why they, because in our educational system, when you go to universities for like admission system, you don't have to have a recommendation letter from a teacher, right? So it's not there yet. So hopefully in the future it will be implemented, and I'm sure it will be. But maybe even now already. But I asked my teachers. They said we will write, but you will help us. Sort of, we will give it to you, for you to read, and you check it out, and then if you want, we can sit together and write it together. And so yeah, with the teachers, like I literally went there with their permission. We went there, we like wrote them together, because again, it's they cannot write those letters, right? So they they were fine with me helping them, but in essence, it's not allowed. You're not supposed to do that, because there is a code, that sort of the rule that you must not read your recommendation letters. You cannot read your recommendation letters, because it exclusively should be the teacher's thing. You cannot access it. So if you ever come from a public school, if you have the similar story like I have, you should be very careful about what you tell people about who you wrote your recommendation letters here. But then I'm telling this to you because I know that this is a big problem in our country, in our educational system, so that you know how to do it. But I would say never do it without the permission of your teacher. Your teacher should know what you're doing, and your teacher should, because you will be using your teacher's name, and so your teacher deserves to read your recommendation letter and see what's written there. So just make sure that your teacher is fine.
So that's good, very good comment about recommendation. Like, and the second question is: are there any requirements for applicants by universities? Yes, there are certain requirements, and it really varies from university to university. So it really depends. But in general, they ask almost the similar stuff, but with specific changes it
Hmm.
may have. What about maximum age limit? What do you think, Amit?
Oh, that's, I don't know. So let's Google now. Is there a maximum
Very easy. You can Google this question.
limit to go to college? Yeah, you can literally Google, and they will say if you may apply for college even if you're already in your 20s, 30s, even 50s. That's because there is no upper age limit, so you can go whenever you
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Google. So
want. That easy.
apply to Yale hoping to get in. So good luck, Muhammad.
Good luck.
Good luck, guys, if you're applying for universities. You can be the
Wow,
next guest for
15,
our
15
like
years
top.
old.
Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
wait,
I'm
okay.
very happy.
Well, okay. I think I know who this is. I think. Okay,
uh, so
let's see.
taking how the opportunities exist to fully. This is the literally covers 1.5 hour,
Of what we talked
conversation.
about. Yeah.
So you can, go back and listen once again so that you can have all the answer for this question.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, goodness, no. Teachers. So yeah, I think this is all that we have
Yeah.
as questions, and now we have been talking like 1.5 hour almost. So it was really interesting to talk to you. Um, do you
Yeah.
have anything to add that we didn't ask? So if you don't if you
Yeah.
do have, so you're welcome now.
Um, I would say good luck to anyone. I'm sure any person who made an effort to come here, to listen, to stay, because I know that our interview is in English, not in Uzbek, not in any other language. So it's already, again, it's a good sign that you're still here, that you're still listening, means you understand what we're talking about, and means that you're really interested. So like level one, stage one, sort of interest, passion, you're already there. It all comes down to just setting a goal. It all comes down to having like a clear strategy and going, because I also took a gap year. Oh, something that I didn't mention, gap year. I took a gap year. My parents were fine about it as well. So it goes back to this question about flexibility. I took a gap year and I knew what I would do in my gap year. So have a clear goal, have a clear strategy, know what you're doing, have realistic expectations. Because again, if you can, it's good to aim high, it's good to be ambitious, but don't be super over, like don't be over ambitious, because again, if you fail, it's going to be, you will take it very personally and it's not a good feeling. So have realistic expectations, and if at any point you are confused, you don't know what to do, you need help, you need to ask a, well, you need help, ask a question, right? Ask, reach out, ask for help. You have a great platform here. You have Ibrat Camp, you have Siraj Dinaka, you have people like him, you have people like me, you have people. Anyway, like you have so many resources these days that when I was applying to universities, I did not have that many universities, and I still could do it, right? So you have all the resources, all the contacts. Don't feel, I don't know, guilty or something for reaching out. reaching out and asking questions is perfect. It's great. It's something that you should learn, and it's something that you should learn how to do. So if you reach out, send clear, polite, to the point messages. Yeah, and good luck everyone with their applications.
Thank you very much, Meet. You're so positive. You've got a positive vibe, which is so nice to have you as a speaker. And
Thank you.
I'm sure, like in a couple of years, we'll meet again. Probably in here or in America or in other part of the world, probably online, and
Deal.
talking again. How was like opening like I don't know top companies or working for the top companies. So
Mhm.
I would be over the moon to have this conversation.
Amazing. Thank
So
you so much.
thank you very much, Umid, and good luck in your studies. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much. Good luck. Bye bye.